playing on a side hills, downhills, some of those complex lies where sometimes you feel like you're playing on the back of the largest horse ever, like the ball is this way and then you're that way. How many range heroes have we seen where they go on the golf course, like they're the leading money winner on the range tour, but you put them on the golf course and they can't play because it makes exactly your point about
Yeah, when folks come to me and they say, I can do it on the range and I can't do it on the golf course, or I've been practicing a lot, but I'm not getting better. My scores aren't going down. Okay. That's a big red flag for me that person doesn't know what or how to practice. And it breaks my heart. Like people that don't practice and don't get better, I can't help you. You got to go to another planet. People that practice and don't get better, it breaks my heart because they're spending time, energy, and money doing it, but they're probably not doing it the right way or they're not working on the right things.
What would be the right way for someone if you were to say, let's say I'm that prop, that's me. What would be the right ways? What are some things that I need to, if I've got 45 minutes, spend on full swing things and 30 to 45 minutes on short game? Should I change that ratio, or how would what would you say to that?
Depends on the player's needs. So this is just to share with people. If you go to ChristopherSmith.golf.com and you click on the Train to Trust page, I have 12 tenets there that I call that I'm going to be producing a video series soon that are all based in science and experience. That's a powerful cocktail for me. Like you hear people, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, the science isn't there. And then the science is there, but the experience isn't there. So these are both. Those are some ideas about how to practice differently. Now, let's say, technically, mechanically, you're not very good. There are things in your motion that you need to modify. I'm not opposed to what's called block practice or bulk practice, where you put a ball down on a mat with a 7-iron, okay, same target, same deal, and you're working on, let's say, something in your swing, something that you're trying to modify. There is a time and a place for that. I think it's overdone, okay? So I would say, hey, Monte, do a little bit of that, okay, whenever you want, and then make it more random, chaotic. Like I tell people this, like golf is the most random, chaotic game in the world, full of variety, yet we practice it like a foul shot, right? So you go anywhere in the world and you go to shoot a foul shot, you're always 15 feet away, and the basket is, 12 feet, 10 feet, right? That is not golf, but people practice golf that way. They practice their putting that way. They do too much of it. And I would say this, the better the player, the more chaotic and random and difficult you better make it. New players, I did a little golf school yesterday, and I had a newer player, and she needed to spend more time on the range, ball on a tee, 7-iron, doing some dry swings, some primer swings, practice swings, capturing the feel, blah, 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 and then add some random. As far as short game goes, I mean, it also depends. Like if you're Seve Ballesteros around the greens, then whatever you do, don't mess it up. Don't go practice and make it worse. So you do have to prioritize somewhat. I spoke with a Northwest legend the other day who I talk to almost every day in some capacity, the one and only Jim McLean, who's recovering from fusion surgery. But we were talking about a variety of things. He's kind of my go-to oracle because he cuts right through it. And he mentioned the name Johnny Revolta. Like people think I'm old. Okay, so Revolta was a legend. And when he taught, this is fascinating. Guy would say, well, I got to hit my driver better. Or, it's all full swing. Revolta would always sneak in about 10 minutes of short game. Like he kind of didn't know it was going. Well, those short game concepts, like back to, the ball flight laws and impact, right, really helped people with their full swing. Right. So that would be another thing like, blah, blah, blah. Hey, let's go hit a couple, chips pitches with your wedge. I do think you need structure though, Monte. I think that's great. Especially if you say, hey, I got 1 hour, 3 days a week. That's up to me to give you a prescription. All right, I want you to do boom, 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 boom. One of the people I try to model my stuff off is the great John Wooden, arguably the greatest coach of all time, or one of these. And I think people know this. He structured his practices in 5-minute increments. Like you show up, all right, from 9 to 9:05, you do this. From 9:05 to 9:10, you do this. Right? It's super structured instead of just going out there and, whatever, whacking whacking range balls.
That makes so much sense. And actually, I think that people probably need that structure.
They do. And if you write it down for them and say, hey, okay, like, here you go, you're on the clock. Like that would help me because I would get flustered and start distracted and, start going elsewhere. Also, guess what most people practice? What they're good at. It makes them feel good. What do they need to practice? What they're not good at. So if you said, God, my 50 to 100 yards is awful. All right, Monty, let's go look at it. Why is it awful? Well, you're doing this, whatever. It could be a pre-shot thing. Could be an in-swing, could be a setup thing. Could be an in-swing thing. It could be a mindset thing. And then, okay, here's the diagnosis. Now here's the remedy. Here's the fix. Okay, here's what I want you to pay attention to moving forward.
Yeah. So if you've got, I think there is one of those things too, is like the randomness, the chaos is like the only thing that's not random usually is if you hit a big slice that goes right into the woods, usually your next shot is probably going to be the same shape in order to get out. Ironically, have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
If you rope hook it, snap, or as my dad said, my dad and I kind of learned to play the game together, which I've always loved, that he was like, so this is the game you love. Okay, I will learn to love it too. And he did it with me, and that's why he and I are so close, and we had all of these incredible life conversations on the golf course. But he called it, when you hit a snap hook, he called it a snap foo.
I love it.
But basically, you hit a snap foo, and if it's still on the golf course, not out of bounds, and you can find it, you basically have to hit another snap.
That's true.
The puddle. And it very rarely do you have to, after hitting a hook, do you have to hit a big fade? Very rarely. It's ironic.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it's so true because in terms of that randomness, and do you ever do again, it goes back to the beauty of you learning to play at Laurelwood. Like everything was random. I'm sure back when the greens were not very consistent, you had to learn to adjust speed and also. So let's talk a little bit about some of the mental things. I think that's one of the things that I admire most when I see you in a room with Michael Neff, the great Canadian golf coach Mike O'Donnell, who's not usually in the coaching space anymore, but I know he's a very good coach, great team leader, development type guy, and then a David Lebec, for example, and some others. I don't want to exclude other people, but I've literally been in rooms with you as groups, and the best part is that you guys are always in that Keith Lyford space of, I don't need everybody in this room to think I'm the smartest one here. Like, I'm actually really interested in what Michael's saying. Michael is genuinely interested in what you're saying.
Yeah.
I admire that you are not that's why I wouldn't put you in your wanted D-bag category. Because you actually want to get better.
Well, I think
I hear that about McLean, although I've never actually been fortunate enough to interact with him, but I hear the same about him.
Yeah, Nipper and I are funny because we're just oil and vinegar, Jekyll and Hyde, as far as where we're coming from. But our end goal is this. This is an overused word, but it's a holistic deal to get better. So what do people need, right? Do they flush it, hit it pretty good, and then they're mentally weak, vice versa, whatever. And I'm not just a mental guy, but all good teachers and all successful people, to use a woodenism, is it's what you learn after you know it all that counts. Okay. And there's way too many people younger than I with way less experience. Apparently they already know it all. We don't know anything, and I think Michael realizes that. So you got to stay curious. You also, McLean hammers this into me all the time. Be skeptical, ask questions, especially now. Dude, is it AI or is it really you and me? Okay. So when somebody says something and puts something out there, go do some research, go do some fact checking, put it on a camera. You say, I do this and this, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't. Here, look. Okay. So it needs to be an accurate analysis. I think Michael does that, does a great job of it. Yeah. I think that's a big part of it is what does somebody need? Is it technical? Most people do, For example, I hear this a lot. Oh, I'm mental about chipping, blah, blah, blah. You know why you're mental? Because technically you suck. So when you go up there and mishit it, time and time again, you lose your confidence and then you become mental. Congratulations. You did not come out of the womb mental. Okay. So I get it. You are now mental. I agree. But you became mental because something technical broke down 99 times out of 100. Now, if you take someone out there, this would be a high level player, and you watch them play, and technically they're very sound, not perfect, but sound. Then you put them in a situation or under the gun and they don't perform. That then becomes a little bit more emotional, mental. Okay. So they have to take it from a different approach. I think Wyndham Clark's a good example of that. I mean, hits it like God, putts and chips it fine, blah, blah, blah. You know, his anger issue a couple of years ago was bad. Okay. He modified that. He addressed it. You know, somebody brought it to his awareness, kind of like I've done with these recent posts. Okay. I brought it to people's attention. It's not about me. I don't want attention, but you need to bring things to people's attention and awareness first in order for them to take action, okay, to find a solution. So there are cases when it's like that. One of the things that fascinates me, and this I've learned so much from Dr. Debbie Cruz at Arizona State, who is a research scientist by trade. But, you know, one of the catch things out there right now, Monte, in instruction has been for a while, is force precedes motion, right? So all the work we're doing with force plates and applying pressure and force to the handle and going to the ground. However, thought precedes action. Fact. Okay, that's not my opinion. Okay, go talk to really smart people and they will say yes. And it's not so much correct. It's not always what you're thinking, like a swing, cue, thought, feel, but how you're thinking. That becomes more state of mind, emotional. Okay. So if that precedes action, you better address that before you address anything else. Okay, because this is very much a cause and effect deal. We all know that. Oh, I sliced the ball. Why? Because your face is open. Why? Because your top hand grip sucks. Boom. Okay. So it's a cause effect. And yeah, we put Band-Aids on things. We all do. When it's time to go and play, like that day we played, you know, at some point you're probably saying, Smitty, why you better aim 50 yards left because you're slicing it off the plant. Okay. So, however, long term, you know, you would say to me, dude, you need to address why okay, face is open, path is left. Got it. Okay. But you need to address that. Okay. And make it better.
From a thinking point of view, I did play in an event that we call the Connection at the Coast recently, and it's at two of my favorite places, Gerhardt Golf Links in Astoria. Two of the great, they're like museums in terms of coolest places to play, and heaven forbid they ever go away, because if they did, we would lose so much special. They're just special places. There's nothing like them on the whole West Coast, each of them. And so we're on the second hole, and it was a shotgun event because we had education in the morning. And I'm not the longest hitter, as you know, and I proceed on the second hole. I choose to hit the club that, if I hit it well, will put me halfway up that slope, it's into the wind, or in one of the bunkers. Instead of saying, and I just lazily pipe it right into one of the bunkers. I mean, it was a solid, well-struck shot, but literally and then I proceeded to have the hardest shot in golf, a blind fairway bunker shot to a green that's 30 feet above your head. And I hit it a little thin and then down in the next valley. And I actually made the greatest bogey I've made this year so far, because I missed the green on my back and then I got up and down for 5. I made a great 5 because after making a dumb decision that then compounded with another not a dumb decision, I had to hit a recovery shot. That's one of the hardest shots. And I got out of the bunker, but not where I wanted to go. And so it compounds. So that just hit me square, because that happened on that trip.
I think that when people say, what does that mean? Or what is, how you're thinking. Okay. And I do this exercise. You've probably seen me do it before in a room. Is this sounds a little woo woo, but I can say woo woo things because I grew up in Eugene in the 60s and 70s, but it's true. And if you look at the science and the research, we all have different parts of self. Okay. Sub-personalities. That doesn't mean we're schizophrenic. Okay. But I'll have people first of all, write down some of the things, some of the emotions, some of the feelings they have when they play golf. Could be anger, it could be pouty. Like I used to pout, when I played bad, whatever it may be. And then give those descriptors names. So let's give Monte, most people have 5 to 9 different parts of self. Debbie Cruz and I have done quite a bit of work on this because she sees it. And not to freak people out, we started calling them mini-me's, right? Dr. Evil, Austin Powers. So what are your mini-me's? And we all have them. So they're in there and they serve you. They're not all bad, right? So it could be, Scaredy Cat. It could be, rock star. It could be whatever. People come up with very creative names. So they're all in there. Like that might have been the lazy Monte. I just didn't want to go back. I don't really care, whatever. So you need to be, yeah, there you go. Like give them funny names and say, okay, these are part of me. They're always there. Okay. You need to be able, oh, here I go again. Here's, I don't know. Like I find sometimes I'll go to play even in tournaments and I kind of turn into this jokester, I think it helps me to relax a little bit because I get nervous anyway. But there's a time and a place for all of these sub-personalities to come in. Sometimes you need Mr. or Mrs. Calm, like you're really freaking nervous. Okay. Sometimes you need a kick in the ass because you become complacent, right? So we get to choose who, so to speak, we want to be for each and every shot. We test these. You can actually test these. For example, a lot of people are like, oh, the perfectionist, right? The OCD person. I'm going to do everything perfect. Okay, test it. You know how you test it? Now you can test it with your EEGs. You'd be shocked to see what's happening in your brain. Or just test it with a ball. Okay, so hit some shots as the perfectionist. Hit some shots as the athlete. Okay, hit some shots as, Peter used to do this all the time as Tiger Woods. Okay, just put your Tiger Woods hat on. Go in there. Okay, so that's an example of thought preceding action, more like how you're thinking, how you are in your skin, rather than what. And it's important. People can play with that. We see it with body language. Like, people get in a rut, head goes down, shoulders get slumped, and they're just shuffling down the fairway. Okay. So these are all examples of things. And if one's not working for you or this somebody pops up that you don't like, you got to say, you got to sit over here. I don't need you right now. Right. I get you. You're there for me. Anger is a fascinating emotion. People think it's bad. It's not bad. Okay. If it's channeled in the right direction. So emotion wise, just to share, anything that gives you energy, okay, like anger does, can be very useful. Anything that sucks your energy out, like an energy vampire, and you get depressed, you get frustrated, discouraged, okay, down, those you got to kick out. Those will not help you. And you can be calm, but we don't want something where it's low energy.
I remember back in the late 90s going to one of the coolest things that just happened to be like a small group education. Dr. Glenn Albaugh was a very good sports psychologist. He was actually the on retainer sports psychologist coach for the Anaheim Angels at the time. And so he told us stories about how he worked with relief pitchers, who is frankly, it's the hardest job in the world. You got to come in, there's people on base. You got to throw strikes now. And he's like, yeah, people who are mechanically perfect and they can't. And his thing was always, at the end of the day, you're just playing catch. You're literally just playing catch. And so he worked with that. But one of his other things, and he'd worked with some various people who, were name players in the 90s on then Nike Tour and then PGA Tour. And one of his things with anger was he always says, I want you to be angry when you hit a poor shot. I want you to do that. But once you put the club back in the bag, you're done with that shot. You're done. Like, so have your little fit. Probably not so it's visible to everybody, but in your head, you can have your little fit. But once you physically put the club, you're literally saying, I'm moving on from that.
Correct. That's the story with, Earl and Tiger. Is Tiger had a really bad temper. Everybody's probably heard this story. I got a chance back in the day to spend a little bit of time with Earl. He was an interesting cat. We did some junior events together where he was there, but Tiger had a bad temper, and I forget how many steps it was. He says, you go ahead and get angry. Okay. But you put that club back in the bag, you got whatever it was, 6 or 9 steps, and it's done. Otherwise, they'll take you off the golf course. And he told me, and Earl told me himself, at first, a couple of times he did take Tiger off the golf course. Tiger didn't like that because he loved to be at the golf course. He absolutely loved it. So he learned the hard way. He said, I told you, you get 6 steps, 10 steps, whatever, and it needs to be done. If it's not done, we're going home. So there are ways to learn that. And anger, it can be useful, but it can also, like Tyrrell Hatton's a lot better now, but, he would lose his mind, which we all laughed at because we've all been there, but it would not affect him positively for the next shot or the next hole or whatever. Whereas I think of John McEnroe, one of the greatest players of all time. Tiger was kind of like this too. As soon as Johnny Mac got mad on the court, it was game over. He got way better. And he almost looked for something to piss him off, right? He was just going to look for a bad call to fire him up. So
Jordan's the same way.
Yeah.
And also I think Steph, I mean, they call him the petty king for a reason. Like he keeps repeat, like you just told me I'm too short or that I'm too small. Okay, well, I'm going to put you to sleep.
Yeah, what motivates people? I mean, that's part of the art of teaching and coaching is what do you need to do to motivate your people to perform, to, practice smarter, whatever it may be. And different people have different buttons that you can press. Yeah. Stephen Ames found that out years ago about Tiger when he threw his driving under the bus in the match play, right? And then he lost 9 and 8. That's the wrong guy to piss off, right? So,
last question for you, Christopher. We could talk for a long time.
Man.
Is how what's motivating you now? What are you working on for 2026 season and so on that's keeping you motivated?
This is an interesting. I stumbled into this. I don't know how many viewers have seen the last couple posts I've done, but I've gotten some interesting, very fascinating feedback. I did not do it to bring attention to me. I got 4,000 likes on Instagram. It's not whatever. But I want to make
we put something that were funny yet true.
Yeah,
that's why people resonate.
Yeah, I can. Me, I can kind of stick it pretty hard. So having been doing this for so long, 35 years now as a full-time teacher, coach, instructor, golf guide, the time, money, and resources I have spent, the blood, sweat, and tears I've spent to perfect my craft, basically, or to improve my craft. It's certainly not perfected. To help other people play better golf. To see it decimated by really just poor, awful offerings, if you will, on social media and then elsewhere. I mean, I see a lot of bad golf lessons being given. I just kind of had enough. And so I created this, this mock, D-bag of a 2025 list. And the response has been fascinating. Like people are like, name names. And like, what are we in 3rd grade here? So I created some categories of individuals and groups that I feel like are not helping others get better at golf. They're doing it for other reasons. Now, I would be top on the list of D-bags if I did not provide a solution. Okay, so if this is bad, if you don't want me to do this, if this isn't working in my golf swing, what do I need to do? Okay, so from here on out, at least with this campaign, I'm going to provide some solutions. So the number of rock star, just fantastic, great coaches and teachers out there is huge. And most of these people and the people that I'm going to refer to and some of the posts that I'm going to do and some of the work that I'm going to do is, hey, here's what a good golf lesson looks like. Okay, you don't have to have all the bells and whistles and whatnot. Okay, but if you're not doing this as a teacher and you're not getting this as a student, you might want to reconsider. So that's a little bit the direction I'm taking. I'm also going to create a video series, finally, with my Train to Trust program. So I think if you go to look at that and you look at those tenets, there's different parts. A lot of people might think, wow, that doesn't make sense. I do not practice this way. I do not do this. And again, that's something I've worked on for years. And I think it's the only reason I got any good at all with golf, which I wasn't, other than running around and playing speed golf that helped me with my slow golf. I'm going to create a video package, if you will, of those 12 tenets that will be available to people so they can look at that, both teachers and coaches and students, and say, hey, maybe I can alter, adjust, improve the way I practice. Because here's the deal. If your practice, and I take this from Dr. Bob Christino, one of my mentors, if your practice is not lasting, enduring, and transferring to the golf course, you're wasting your time. Nobody cares how you hit it on the range. And I hear that a lot. So these are some ideas and concepts, again, based in science and evidence and in my own guinea pigging. I'm a pretty good guinea pig about some things that might help people practice smarter, more efficiently, so that whatever they're learning, they can take onto the golf course.
And my final comment, I also think too, I think you're one of the few teachers, golf guides that actually, as you've grown and gotten better in your teaching, you still like to work with people who are learning the game. There are some who are great instructors and they only want to work with plus fours or plus handicap. And so actually I that allows you to continue to guinea pig or to your science. You have new subjects to study and to work with, to learn from. And and the best part is that's the thing too, is that I do want to make a trip down to Eugene this summer to see you, because I will probably come see you for a lesson, because our good friend Patrick or Apollo has said this 2 or 3 different times that he actually comes to see you because he actually grows from it from multiple ways. He's like, and he actually encouraged people at the Connection to the Coast. He said, you need to go take a golf lesson from somebody, not just so for the variety of reasons you can get better, you can see how they do things. Somebody, because it's just a good thing to do. It was very, very
well,
cool.
It is, and I'll finish with this. So what people have done what happens now is people want to, I want to learn about blah, blah, blah. So they go to YouTube or Instagram or whatever, and they look at these clips. Teachers and coaches, this is old school, but it's still so useful. Go find someone, okay? Probably someone you don't agree with, okay? You don't like what they teach, okay? Call them, reach out to them. Go take a lesson from them, okay? And then ask if you can observe the rest of the day, their session. That is still something that's so important, okay, that people don't do anymore because it's not convenient and it costs to go here and there. But you want to talk about a great substitute for the shoddy instructional offerings that we're seeing on social media, go do that. And just in the immediate area, right? Now, you might come away from there and say, hey, you know what? I still don't agree with what that person is doing, but I guarantee you something. You've learned something. You've probably learned a lot. Okay, and that's what it is.
Yeah, at least on how to communicate, on how to connect. Yeah, and actually, this is probably pretty good advice politically too. Just where we can start to go spend time with other people. I mean, Marcus King and I laugh all the time. We're both kind of different on a political spectrum, but he's one of my best friends. Like I get energized being around him because I learn all the time. And his spirit is like yours. He elevates the room, makes it more fun. It's a more enjoyable time to be there. So we could keep talking for a while. I know you're going to go help some people get better at golf today. So thanks again for your time. And I also thank you for the way you give back your time to Over Northwest Section through education. And
I'm always available to chat, to interact. If you want to get together to chew the fat. I certainly don't have all the answers. I'm still learning, and I think that's important. As teachers and coaches, you got to care, you got to be passionate, and then just be lifelong learners. This happens all the time. And I think once you think you know it all, like I said earlier, somebody today is gonna. I'm doing a men's clinic here. Somebody's gonna walk onto that lesson tee. They're gonna break every rule that I think is proper, and they're gonna hit it great. And I'm gonna go, wow, I don't know anything. Nothing. It makes my day when I see that. It's like, wow, I never really thought about that after.
All right, thanks for the time, Smitty.
All right, Monte.
All right, thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Take care.